Welcome to She Chose Joy, where we discuss all things love, freedom, wellness, and joy. I'm your host, Melanie Foote-Davis, also known as the Soul Whisperer. If you find yourself busy pushing and powering through to the next thing, then this episode is for you. My guest, Emmy Beeson's body collapsed under the weight of clawing her way through. And as a former CEO and superintendent of 2 school districts, she understands the complexities of leadership, from managing multi-million-dollar budgets to balancing community expectations. And she brings this real-world insight into her work. She specializes in helping leaders grow their personal and professional wellness with practical strategies for organizational change while building capacity for growth and embracing their authenticity. So tune in as she shares her new approach to achieving sustainable success. Let's go. Well, hello, Emmy. Welcome to She Chose Joy.
Thank you for having me.
I am really excited to have you here. I don't know about you or what the weather is like there, but it feels cool in the house to me today.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
so we're really approaching fall, looks like really soon, right?
yes. It's maybe a little too early for me. I need a little bit more summer.
Yeah, yeah, me too. It seems like the summer just whizzed by.
Yes,
I may actually even need to sit down to reflect on what did I do this summer because it just seems to have gone so quickly.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Every season, I'm afraid it's a part of our age, maybe.
Is that what that is?
Like they say, every year goes faster, but boy, I'm really feeling it.
Yeah.
Uh, now I'm really feeling it.
Yeah, it's interesting because even with seeing like looking at my grand loves, like the youngest one is a year old, and just looking at how, just remembering how he was just sitting there doing nothing, and now he's running around and, you know, jumping off of things
Yeah,
and, really reaching for what he wants, and you could really see a sense of his personality. But that year seemed to have gone by really quickly.
so fast.
Yeah. So it's so many things that comes with age, like you mentioned age, in terms of, things that if I had known this earlier, then I would have,
Mm,
right?
yes,
Um, and even like, and so getting to this place, I don't know about you, but I'm noticing that I'm making decisions a little differently than I did in the past.
yes, 100%. I mean, I think. Yeah, it has to be an attribute of some age,
Mhm.
right? And some places, one of my favorite sayings is like, you're not ready to hear it till you're ready to hear it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe something has to do with age that allows us to become ready
Yeah.
to hear it or to experience it, because that saying of, if I had known this when I was younger, I would have,
Hmm.
uh man, that's the last 5 years for sure of
Yeah.
my of my traveled experience. Ooh, if I had known this when I was younger.
Mhm. Yeah. And for me now, the time is even starting to collapse, right? So now is also when things are happening now, and I realize I'm making a new decision, it's going into, if I had thought about this last week or yesterday, I would have handled it. So moving forward, this, like, if that opportunity um
Yeah,
shows itself again for me, this is how I'm stepping into it. Like, it's starting to be like that for me now.
I agree. I think our sense of awareness,
Mhm.
our ability to reflect quickly, like in
Yeah.
real time, it's
Mhm.
just heightened, and so that makes sense, right? Like we're learning rapidly, versus I speak for myself. It took me a longer time to learn things when I was
Yeah.
younger. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is, I attribute a lot of it also to being more present to who I am
Yes.
now, and really
Yes.
being more intentional about what it all means. Whereas before, there were other things influencing my decisions and all of that. And
Yes.
so I was thinking, this this breaking news, it just dropped in. I was thinking we could make this conversation, since we're thinking about how we respond to things now versus different.
Yeah.
We could play a game on like the old Emmy would have and the present
Yes.
Emmy now
Yes.
would choose. And I'll respond the same way with my things like the old way Melanie would have and the present
For
Melanie.
sure.
How's that? You down for that
Yeah.
game?
No, I'm up for that. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So I was I was reviewing an article, and then this ties into what we had talked about even on our pre-call, an article that you had written for the Re-Inspire We blog around toxic productivity.
Yeah.
What led you to like that? Like, what is it about that topic that
Mm.
called your attention?
Hi, I'm Michelle Akins, executive coach and author, and I specialize in helping high capacity leaders align their inner values with their outer goals. In my 6-week group coaching program, Clarity, you'll experience a supportive space for reflection, clarity, and growth. Through powerful questions, deep listening, and guided insight, you'll uncover what's next and gain the confidence and tools to pursue it with purpose. If you're ready for a shift, let's rewrite the script together. Go to michelleakins.com and click on the tab Work with Michelle. Look forward to seeing you.
Yeah. So it kind of came back up again for me
Mm,
because I confess, as I'm a recovering toxic productivity person,
mm,
but in a recent coaching session with a client, she said to me, like, we were planning our goals, where she wanted to go, and she said, teach me how to relax. And we kind of joked about it,
mm,
but then in very seriousness said, I'm not sure I have ever relaxed, and
mm,
I don't know how to get there. And while we worked on that for her, it immediately took me back to the space in my life where I could so identify with that.
mhm.
And so that article came out of her prompting, but it just really resonating with me, just deep in my bones,
Yeah,
that's how I lived in this need to be productive all of the time.
yeah,
And downtime or rest or, even maybe fun, entertainment type things
mhm,
felt very much like I was wasting time, and
wow,
I needed to be producing something
mm,
all of the time. So that is an old Emmy. And then the article talked about ways that we can know that we're kind of trapped in that, but
yeah,
now I'm living much more in a space, to use the words that you used a little bit ago, much more present.
mhm,
I'm much more aware of my current situation and know that my rest is productive,
yeah,
right? If I'm going to keep that same frame, my rest is productive. The investing in myself is productive. And I just have I'm in a very different space, and live with very different expectations for myself than I did even 5 years ago.
yeah. That's good. Like thinking about rest as productive, right?
Mm.
Because quite often I know like old Melanie would have thought that rest meant you weren't doing anything,
Yes.
being lazy,
Hmm.
slacking, ineffective even.
Yes.
And the truth is, present Melanie is aware that some part of me knew that wasn't true even then.
Mm.
Yet the conditioning around the gotta get things going. You need
Mhm.
to keep it moving. You don't want to waste time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's interesting, the idea that there's kind of like an underlying current in the past that knew this wasn't such a good
Yeah.
idea, but we just pressed through anyhow.
Mhm.
You reminded me, years ago, I would have this pattern every February-ish, I'd get real sick,
Mhm.
couple weeks, like, just knocked out, and finally, it kind of dawned on me, um, if you were paying attention, Emmy, and you looked back leading up to this, your body was my body was telling me,
Yeah.
Slow down, rest." But I pushed through until it was like, "Okay, now I am in bed for 3 days,"
Mhm.
because my body is collapsing under, the weight of the work. And, I remember it was before this official transformation of the last 5 years, but a few years before that, I remember starting to become aware and
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, okay. I need to slow down here, or I need to rest here." And then was starting to be able to avoid
Mhm.
that midwinter collapse. Uh, but I really believe that was a physical result of that toxic productivity, and I was not listening to myself. And
Mhm.
I've learned how to do that over time.
Wow. Okay, so I'm curious about 2 things,
Hmm.
and you can answer them in any way you want. One is, what was happening in around February-ish
Hmm. Hmm.
where you would end up not feeling unwell and
Hmm.
possibly in the bed for 3 days?
Hmm.
And what how did you avoid that gateway to collapse? How did you
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, I'm not sure if there was like a specific February something, right? February-ish,
Mhm.
but my all of my leadership work previously was in school administration.
Mhm.
And so if you just kind of think about the cycle of a school year versus a
Mhm.
calendar year,
Right.
we are really ramped up, so much adrenaline
Mm.
in the end of July coming into August. And then it's that whole building of a school year.
Mhm.
And I think that work, just based on the calendar. And then also I just think that there's some truth for me personally around the lack of sunshine,
Mm.
that we have in the winter. And I know now, I didn't know then, but I know now that I need to be outside. I need to connect with nature.
Mhm.
I need to have some quiet, refueling moments. Even though I do a lot of things that look like an extrovert, I am not an extrovert. I need quiet, solitary refueling time.
Yes.
And so I think just that cycle of having, 6+ months of push, push, push,
Mhm.
um, constantly with people.
Mhm.
My job was very, very social. Just and missing some of the things that would be natural refueling for me, like being outside or having some sunshine or having some quiet moments, just led to that collapse.
Yeah.
Um, which I think, for a lot of people, whether you're on a school calendar or not, you can see where those really,
Yeah.
um, kind of cyclical, stressful times,
Mhm.
project-based times ramp up, right?
Yeah.
And then, I think the aha for me, honestly, like, how did I start avoiding it is, um, it was a phone call with my mom, and, we were talking about, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting sick." Like, "I don't have time for this. I can't get sick."
Mhm.
Right? I'm not listening to my body. And she made this observation. Well, you seem to just really get sick every winter.
Mm.
And it was just that aha. And then we went on with the conversation, right? Just that
Right.
little drop
Yeah.
that made me say, wow, I do kind of get sick every winter.
Yeah.
Why? Right? Like, what's going on? And so that was just a little beginning of self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
for me that then allowed me to just start to avoid
Yeah.
that moving forward.
Yeah. And I asked for a couple of reasons. One, I was curious about what was happening for you during that time. And two, it also reminds me of two clients of mine who didn't even know each other, right? But they both were, ironically, they both are in finance
Mm,
and they both got sick every year around the same time.
mm,
And it was typically around like audit season
yep.
or the close of their fiscal year. And
Hmm.
now, after they've integrated new practices and have this awareness, um, they don't get sick
Yeah.
anymore at that time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them, her husband even noticed, like, "Did you notice you haven't gotten sick this year?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so one of my joys actually was receiving a call from one of them saying, "I just want you to know that I haven't usually at this time, I am sick, and this is the 4th year that I
Yes,
haven't, and it's related to
that's right.
that the work that we did and being aware of what's happening in your body and
Yes.
all of that."
Yes.
And so I just wanna, go reference your article again because there was a definition of toxic productivity. I keep wanting to say toxic positivity because
Yes.
that's a thing also.
Yes. Right.
Um, and it's defined as an unhealthy obsession with being constantly busy and
Right.
productive, often at the expense of one's physical health, mental well being, relationships, and personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna repeat that for the people in the back, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Toxic productivity is defined as an unhealthy obsession with being constantly busy and productive, often at the expense of one's physical health, mental well-being, relationships, and personal fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. And
Mm,
I can say I
mm,
could check every one of those boxes and say I was living in that
yeah,
toxic productivity. Yes.
yeah. It's that and if you don't mind sharing, it reminds me of something that we've talked about before, where you refer to it as even always clawing your
Mm,
way.
yes.
Would you share a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
sure. Again, like these are phrases that I would not have used. Old Emmy, previous Emmy would not have used these
Mhm.
phrases, right? But looking back and because of so much change, I saw that productivity as, is always striving. I'm always fighting for the next thing. I'm always clawing. That was where I'm clawing my way to the finish line, to the next goal, right?
Yeah.
As a highly productive, get things done uh, personality, and I thought that that was a normal way of
Yeah.
behaving. That existence, I didn't know any different. It's how I had always done
Mhm.
things. And so I wouldn't have used the phrase clawing my way to the finish line. It's just what I did.
Yeah.
Looking back, um, there just was so much um, push, just so much struggle all of the time.
Mhm.
Um, instead of, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but like I create the conditions for, and then partner with people in a result, or partner with myself for a result, partner with the universe, right?
Right.
It's just a very, I was in a very different demanding space, and nobody was doing that to me.
Mhm.
It was all demanding of me by me.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting, because when you said no one was doing that to me, I get I get you taking ownership of what you were co-create, like your role in that
Mhm,
part of the
mhm,
journey.
mhm,
However, I do also like strongly believe that we're like in this co-creative process. And
mhm.
so someone may or may not have necessarily been doing that to you. However, I do personally believe that the external expectations and voices of the past and cultural beliefs and
Yes,
um you know a lot of systemic protocols that have been put in place
yes.
also drive us to a point where we as some that like an external expectation was placed
Mhm,
upon us until we
mhm.
adopt it as our own.
Yes, that's such a good reframe. Let me say it this way. No one was explicitly putting those demands on me,
Mm.
but implicitly, I lived in a culture
Yeah.
that said that's how I should be. Um, and it was, um, even I was proliferating that culture because I was in a leadership role.
Yeah.
And so then I was setting those kind of striving expectations always for others. And it wasn't until the last several years
Yeah.
in leadership that I started really recognizing
Mm.
that uh, I'm not going to send an email after 5 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I'm going to make it a rule that my team
Mhm.
doesn't send emails after 5 o'clock at night. Like, the people who are working underneath us should not be getting emails from us at 1 in the morning with the expectation that, we're modeling that.
Mhm.
So you're 100% right. After I became aware,
Yeah.
then not only did I try to start changing my own behaviors toward that, but then I tried to start creating like institutional rules
Yes.
around how other people
Mm.
would show up in that space. Um, so we could try to get just healthier space.
You are speaking my language here. Like I so appreciate you sharing that. And I'm going to share partially why is because you being in a leadership role in a space where it actually impacts children, which also impacts families, communities, all of
Yes,
these things, by you being in a space where you get to make decisions about how the conditions in which we are going to thrive in, you're
yes,
setting the kids up for success, which is a part for a healthier environment to thrive in, which is a part of I take it feels very personal to me to hear you say that because you're a living example of what I believe is possible
yes. Yeah,
as
yeah.
as it relates to creating generational healing and
Mm,
the whole thing about you know when I talk about reclaiming your leadership story, that's exactly what I mean. Like you are a living, breathing example of what that means and what's possible from here. And so let's go back for a minute to even what got you there, where you made this like old Emmy would have handled it this way, sending emails and all of these other things late at night. And then the truth is what's possible is the person on the receiving end, and this is not directed towards you. This is for all of us to really feel into this possibility that what happens is when the person on the receiving end sees the name pop up from work, something within happens
mhm.
that could possibly be a belief around, okay, my sense of security
Yeah,
is at risk. My security of having you know, income, a job, things to take care of my family. And so this whole belief that I need to respond, I have to respond, I've got to respond, even though we know it's after hours. And then
Right.
over time, that becomes a habit.
Hmm.
And so you setting a new expectation makes a huge difference. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, um, I'm honored, like, to hear your description of, reclaiming your leadership story and feeling like these are examples that
Mhm.
you would lean into. I feel so honored to hear you describe it that way.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, even though I would always say that I lived in toxic productivity, very driven, on the disc personality. I'm a strong D. We're going to get things done, right?
Yeah.
Um, I have always uh, the values that I bring to that work. It was always about people,
Yeah.
always about caring for people,
Mhm.
and which makes sense, why I wound up in education and
Mhm.
that work. But there's a little bit of a disconnect between we're going to drive and get things done,
Mhm.
and also I have a big heart for people and I want to make people's lives better. And I think as I got older, and I certainly, we could make this podcast really long and we could talk about the leadership mistakes I made early on and the things that I learned that were bad for people's hearts,
Mhm.
and also didn't get the results because it was bad for people's hearts. So it didn't get the results that you were looking for, and shift in leadership. But that was much more around, like, probably structural approaches and my own personality showing up in the job. And it really was a little later that the idea of also responding to work life balance and responding to people's sense of wholeness
Mhm.
started showing up, because I lived kind of with the blinder that, well, if I can work this hard, why can't everybody else?
Mhm.
Which was really a false premise, because yes, I was working that hard, but to my own detriment,
Mhm.
to the detriment of my body, to my mental health, and to my family, without seeing those consequences. So over time, I would say, like, little layers peeled off, and I got a little better. I got a little better. I made the email decision pre-COVID.
Mhm.
There were things that were changing, but the real line in the sand that just really made me step back
Mhm.
and say, "Oh man, I've got to figure out how to change this,"
Yeah.
really was COVID. Um, During the shutdown here in Ohio, the district that I was in for the last, 3 months of the school year, we were in statewide lockdown. And then the following year, we were in school on and off again.
Right.
But during that lockdown, we all worked remotely. And I watched spring unfold for the first time in probably over 20 years.
Wow.
And I remember being shocked, feel teary eyed. I remember being, like, shocked at watching flowers bloom. Like, that flower wasn't there yesterday.
Yes.
That bud opened today. And then looking back and saying, "Oh, I missed 20 years of
Yeah.
spring." And I remember sitting in a meeting with my team saying, "You will never miss spring unfolding again on my watch. We have to do this differently. We have
Yeah.
to figure out ourselves. We have to figure out our work. We have to figure out our balance. We've got to do this differently to take care of ourselves." And I don't know if that sounds, like, ugh, small,
No.
but that's what it was. It was the blooming of flowers that I hadn't seen for 20 years.
Yeah. And do you think it was because I don't want to assume, So I won't even say, do you think it was? What do you believe was different that you were able to notice spring unfolding?
Well, I mean, for me, it really was the fact that I was locked in my house for 3 months.
Mhm.
Um, we still had to all the work, but it was done so differently. It
Mhm.
was done so differently. I wasn't driving here or there. I wasn't, you know, kind of trapped up in an office. I wasn't running from school to school. I could have watched spring unfold for the previous 20 years driving around,
Yeah.
but I didn't because my mind was never in the present moment.
Mm.
I was always planning the next meeting I was going to, or the thing that just happened and the thing that I have to do. And, you're driving and you don't even know how you got to where you were going. And so that shutdown where I could go for a walk and breathe for a second. And it was my first experience with mindfulness and being present in the moment. And that was a complete game changer for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. And you saying you when you said that I wasn't present, it just reminds me of that saying, and I don't know whose quote it is. And I need to look it up because I use it often. Um, and is that wherever you are, be all there.
Yes.
And and quite often we're not. When we're driving, we're often on autopilot because we've done the drive so much that we don't have to think about it. So we just get in the car, probably don't even I know I there are times I don't even remember turning the ignition on, right? I just know the
Yeah,
car's moving and I got from home to where I got to my
I'm
destination.
going. Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
and so we're not really present on the drive. We're not really feeling the texture and the weight of the steering wheel. We're not present to what's even happening around us unless something startling where someone's entering our lane or
Right.
driving too slow or
Mhm.
something like that that disrupts our movement. But other than
Yeah.
that, we're on the phone, we're listening to the radio, we're um eating sometimes. We're having our
Yes.
coffee. Sometimes
Yeah.
yeah, like literally, I kid you not. A few weeks ago, my husband and I were on the expressway in rush hour traffic, and there was a woman in the lane next to us driving with her knees, with both hands texting on her phone on the expressway in rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I could not figure out, like, I'm just going to be honest, my judge was active
Yeah.
because I kept saying, what is so important
Mhm.
that we need both hands, because we aren't supposed to be texting and driving anyway.
Right. Right.
Um, and not to say I've never done it, so I'm not gonna say I'm Pollyanna and do everything correct either.
Right.
Um, but both hands on the phone and driving with your knees on the expressway, 4 lanes of traffic.
Yes.
And she did it well.
Which means it's probably not the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
just an example of how we really aren't present
Mhm.
to yeah. I feel like I went on a slight little tangent there, but it's because it's those things that's that's creating harm. And
Yes.
because nothing happened, there was no accident to my knowledge, at least not during the space and time that we were in together that
Mhm.
happened. She didn't cross the lane. Like I said, she was very skilled at it. But even what is it that's happening in our world where we're constantly so busy being productive or doing in the doing space
Yes.
that we're checked out of the experience that we're actually in.
Yes. Yes.
So how amazing is it for you? Like, thank you again for for seeing that and not keeping that to yourself.
Mm.
Because you could have just changed the way you operate at home, but you didn't,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the calling, I think. I titled or untitled, right? When we have an opportunity in leadership, which really has been my life's work.
Mhm,
Um, how I teach now, how I work with clients now,
mhm.
is that as leaders, we have the great privilege to create the conditions in which.
Yeah.
And before, I was creating conditions, often unintentionally.
Mhm.
Some of them were good conditions, some of them were great conditions, some of them not so good conditions. But with awareness,
Mhm.
now I get to, with intention,
Yeah.
create the conditions in which, and then, we fill in the blank. So as leaders, we create the conditions in which people feel safe. We create the conditions in which people can better be present in both their work and their personal lives. Whatever, we fill in the blank. But um, I think once I started learning these things for myself and I started feeling my body unravel, and I mean that in a positive way, like my body was very tied up,
Mhm.
very knotted up. Once I started coming into space where I could breathe and
Mhm.
I could unravel a little bit, when you find something good, you want to share it.
Yeah.
I want to share it.
Yeah. Can we before we really get into the creating conditions with, can we go
Mhm,
back? Can we just let's play with that, um, your body unraveling in a positive
mhm,
way and how it was tied up. And you and I had a conversation offline about how if someone had asked you, "Do you feel," and I'm paraphrasing here, "Do
mhm,
you feel
mhm.
stuck inside and all knotted up?" Oh, twisted
Mhm.
up, I think was the words you
Twist it
used.
up. Yep.
Yeah. You would have said what?
No,
Mm,
no.
yeah.
You just can only know what you know,
Mhm.
and you don't know differently until you have an experience to compare it to.
Yeah.
And I lived for decades, uh, really knotted up, and I mean that both in a very physical sense.
Mhm.
I had terrible lower back pain, sometimes paralyzing lower back pain,
Mm.
and really terrible neck pain. We watch people who walk around like this.
Yeah.
you know, we're stressed out and our shoulders are up here. I mean, I just lived like this, just physically knotted up with my shoulders up at my ears. So I experienced that physically. But also there's a, and I don't know what the right words are here, so forgive me. We'll play with this, but the idea that there's this emotional or energy feeling inside of us, right?
Mhm.
And this emotion was always either kind of like blocked off, like walled off,
Mhm.
or this, like, walled off is maybe a good word. It's like a guarded, like
Yeah.
crusted over.
Yeah.
And,
Mm.
um, that felt normal. I didn't know that there could be a different way to feel. And I think I started getting, like, little chinks in this armor,
Mhm.
like watching spring unfold and realizing that I hadn't seen it, and that made me teary-eyed.
Yeah.
It was like opening a little something, right? And then through, coaching work, through work with a therapist,
Mm.
through my own, work in yoga
Mhm.
and really mindful practices,
Yeah.
um, a little bit more openings
Yeah.
where I would notice I had more, physical mobility
Yeah.
instead of being tight, right? Physical mobility. I remember a day thinking, oh, something feels like it's missing, but it's good. It's
Mhm.
like a release, like something, and it was that like crusted wall, right? That was
Yeah.
guarded, was a little bit more open, and there's more kind of fluidity in this emotional sense or energy sense inside of me. And I think that if you're on the other side, if you're where I was and you're listening to me talk, you're like, what is she talking about? Sounds crazy. I would have said that, but now I do think there's been a like a tight physical and emotional unraveling
Yeah.
that just created freedom, space and freedom in my emotions, in my body, much more peaceful
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And you're right. So someone who's not familiar with it because they may still be feeling and maybe theirs isn't twisted up or knotted up inside or walled up. However, there is some version of that that is
Mhm.
guarded to the point where we in some cases dissociated with our bodies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in the somatic world, we consider that those feelings you have like a felt sense. And
Yes.
so that's a felt sense that we have that if we aren't present to what's happening, we miss it.
Mhm. Mhm.
In one, like a very common scenario is going to get a massage. And it takes someone outside of you to touch a part of you to realize that there's tension there where you're like,
Yes.
oh, that hurts.
Yes.
But that knot didn't just show up on the massage table. We've been walking around with that knot in our shoulder, our back, out
Mhm.
wherever that may be for a moment now.
Yes.
But we were so disconnected from our own bodily experience
Mhm.
that we missed the cues.
Yes.
And some part of us felt it and kept it moving,
Yeah.
pushed through, which ties right back to that toxic productivity
Yes.
that
Yes.
you have to keep going.
Yes. Yeah, I think because that feeling feels normal
Yeah,
to us,
yeah.
it makes me think, about probably
Mhm,
about 20 years ago. I've wore glasses on and off
mhm.
my whole life, and I can see okay without them, right?
Yeah.
But everything's just a little fuzzier,
Mhm.
right? And I remember about 20 years ago, the first pair, what I remember saying to the doctor, "Are you kidding me? The world is this crisp?
Oh, wow.
What?" Like, I just thought this was how everybody saw the world. Then you gave me these glasses, and this is a big upgrade. I didn't know, but you don't know what you
Mhm.
don't know. And that is what I both physically and emotionally experienced that
Yeah,
transition over the last several years.
great analogy. Yeah, the world is this crisp. And
Yeah.
even now, how does, like, old Emmy possibly normalize the pain, the discomfort of feeling twisted up? Um, and now new Emmy experiences what in her body?
Yes. Well, that's such an interesting question, because I think part of that twistedness, that walled up experience,
Mhm,
you use the word how we kind of dissociate, we detach from things that are unpleasant.
mhm.
It is our brain's number one responsibility is to keep us safe,
Yeah.
not to keep us happy, not to help us become like self-actualized human beings. Our brain's like number one response is keep you safe. And so painful things, the body has to do something with that,
Yeah.
right? And in my experience, it was wall it off, shut it down, you know,
Mhm.
build a barrier. And so now with a different approach,
Mhm.
when I notice pain or anxiety
Yeah.
coming, now, and this is not comfortable. Please, this is not like I'm a pro at doing this, but the approach now is, oh, my body's trying to tell me something.
Mm.
Okay, anxiety, I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm not running away.
Yeah.
I'm right here. What's going on? Like being more nurturing, being more
Mm.
present instead of, I mean, I literally remember in the past having anxiety feelings and saying, "Oh my gosh, I just have to make this stop."
Yeah. Yeah.
I just has to go away. God,
Mm.
make it go away.
Yeah.
And now it's okay. This is a message.
Absolutely.
This is a message to me.
Yeah.
I need to listen to what my body's telling me. How do I wrap my arms metaphorically? How do I wrap my arms around anxiety and be present
Mm-hmm.
and say what's going on? And most of the time, as I get better at this, I can pinpoint
Yeah.
the thing, and either it's it's something I do have control over,
Yeah.
and I can make adjustments to relieve that anxiety,
Yeah.
or it's something I don't have control over, and I can have kind of an internal conversation
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have control over that. Here's the things I do have control over, and how I know I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah.
So it's a very different process, but I would maybe argue that previously I didn't have a process.
Yeah.
I just was acting on autopilot of the lizard brain, right? And now there is a prefrontal cortex awareness process that
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of move through, both with internal dialogue and, other strategies like breath work or
Yeah.
yoga or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you for presencing, like bringing that in. And I'd like to add too. So yes, and to what you shared. And when you mention like, you know, wrap your arms around it, I feel like this is a perfect segue to offer that as a tool that can actually use to calm your nervous system. For those who are listening and those who are watching, I'm just going to demonstrate when
Yes.
Emmy said wrap your arms around it. You can actually wrap your arms around, give yourself
Yeah.
a self hug when you're feeling anxiety and
Hmm.
rock
Hmm.
just like you're rocking a bit. Hold yourself a self
Yeah.
hug and just rock from side to side to kind
Yeah.
of soothe that anxiety and nurture and nourish it. Or
Mhm.
even a butterfly tap, a
Yes.
gentle tap on your shoulder. And so, just like when we hold a baby, we naturally rock and it's comforting and it tends to the needs of that baby's what they're experiencing. When we're doing that with the baby, we also feel soothed.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you get to rock yourself.
Hmm.
That bilateral movement is really great for
Yes.
moments like that.
Yes.
Um, or even if you don't rock, just like containing it,
Hmm.
holding it, and like you said, addressing it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
This is so good, Melanie. I'm so glad that you took a second to do that, because kind of like this full circle, when we talk about toxic productivity, I said at the beginning that I felt like rest
Mm,
or doing something to take care of myself was
yeah.
wrong,
Mm,
right? I needed to just be producing something.
yeah.
This It's external. I'm producing something for the outside world,
Yeah.
versus realizing that taking care of myself
Mm,
is
mm,
productive.
yeah.
Taking care of myself is
Yeah.
good.
Mm,
And to your point also earlier, that we live in a culture that hasn't taught us how to do that.
yeah.
We hear a lot about how we take care of others, how we might take
Yeah.
care of our children, or what you might do for an employee, or
Mhm.
but we don't practice and or talk about what we do to take care of ourselves. And so I think it feels uncomfortable for
Yeah.
people to think about ways
Mm,
that I would nourish and take
mm,
care of myself.
yeah.
But then we are more whole.
Yes.
we are healthier.
Yes.
And then if the end goal is I want to be really good to the other people in my life, then I can be better
Yeah.
for the other people in my life. But we have to be open to this reframing
Mm-hmm.
that there are skills for us to learn.
Yeah.
There are thinking strategies, there are awareness and mindful techniques for us to learn so that we really can
Mm-hmm.
soothe and nurture ourselves
Absolutely.
um, the way we would want to do for a child.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love
Because the
that. Thank you
child
for
in us
sharing.
still wants to be loved, right?
Yes,
Still
we
wants
all
to be
have that.
nurtured, still wants to be seen, still wants to be valued, you
Yes.
know? And so would you share a little bit about how you're creating, how you discover creating conditions for
Hmm.
in your own personal life, and now how you use that to integrate, because, for me, I don't like work-life balance is a term that I
Yes.
have resistance to because, you know, we tend to the whole person, our whole
Right.
life, and work is a component of that. And so
Yeah.
being able to have harmony between that aspect of work within our lives,
Hmm.
how do you create conditions for that in your work?
Yeah. Well, I think personally, being that really driven, get things done person, al- um, created an atmosphere in which I felt responsible for a lot of things that I'm not actually responsible for.
Mhm.
And I owned the results of a lot of things. And so, which just creates this terrible feedback loop and creates this vicious cycle of I've got to work harder, I've got to get more done, right? Because I'm responsible for all of these things. And as I began to kind of come more into being in the present moment and realizing that there's a limit to what I can do
Mhm.
and how other people respond to that are like that's their responsibility. So I am responsible for the conditions that I create. I am responsible for my vision. I'm responsible for how skilled I am. I'm responsible for how much capacity I have, and so those are things I can grow, right? If I say, um, gosh, I'm working on this project and I don't have these skills that I need, I can go learn them, right? So things that I'm responsible for. Um, but I can't make these other things happen even in my personal life or my work life. I have some family dynamics that were happening at the same time in work, and I wanted to like micromanage particularly one child who was challenging. And I remember the day he said to me, he just looked me right in the eye and he said, "I am not one of your employees."
Mm.
Oh, shoot. You know, and so I just think, I had to learn, like, there are lines,
Mhm.
and I'm responsible for this much, and then all this other stuff in the world, I'm not responsible for.
Mhm.
And then I hear that in coaching people, I hear so much leaders
Yeah.
who are really concerned about a particular situation, and rightfully so,
Right.
but more than concerned, they are owning it.
Mhm.
And there's a difference between being concerned about how something plays out and owning it as if it is your sole responsibility. And so, kind of between my own growth and then working with clients,
Mhm.
seeing them own so much,
Mhm.
it just became a phrase
Yeah.
that you can be concerned about that. As a human being, your heart can be broken
Yeah.
that this particular thing is happening with this family or with this school or with the budget or, whatever. Um, but is it in your power to fix?
Mhm.
No. Okay. Is it in your power to maybe create conditions in which they could make different decisions?
Yeah.
Is it in your power to create the conditions that, make an atmosphere for teamwork? If somebody still decides they don't want to be on your team, they don't really want to be on your team, right? But I feel like that reframe has allowed myself to be honest about what I really can control, and then also to be responsible about what is really within my sphere of influence. And then also it gave myself and those that I work with just freedom to
Mhm.
let ourselves off the hook. I'm not responsible for that. And so I feel like that has been really just a powerful lens and reframe for people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, and it is something because sometimes like one of the terms that's out there too is people, managing people.
Mhm.
And when we think about even managing teams, managing teams, leading people, all of these things, it's sometimes translated into controlling people and making people do things they
Make
don't
them
want
do
to
this
do.
thing. Yes, yes.
And we can't control people. And so the way your reframe is, it makes it accessible.
Mhm.
In many ways, the way I experience it, as I hear you say it, is the freedom is on both ends because it gives them the freedom to step into their own sense of agency. And it also gives you the freedom to not real feel responsible for someone else's choices.
Yes,
You do your
yes,
part, they do theirs, and
yes.
everybody is responsible for
Mhm.
their
Yes,
part, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Can I share an example?
Yes, absolutely.
So when we are thinking about maybe a change initiative, something we need to get people to do something differently
Mhm.
at work, right? Um, if I say as a leader, I'm responsible to create the conditions in which people will be inspired to do this work.
Mm.
That is different than I told them to do it. And so here's how we would think about setting that up. Managing people means I could come to a meeting and I can give you the agenda and
Mhm.
I can give you the objectives and the stuff and I can tell you this is due on this date and right,
Yeah.
go. That didn't create a condition for anything,
Mm.
right? There's no agency, there's no collaboration, there's no inspiration, there's no buy-in. I'm solely relying on my authority to tell people to do something.
Mhm.
But if I'm leaning into I create the conditions in which people will be inspired to do this work. Now, there's still accountability at the end of this model.
Mhm.
Either way, it's still
Yeah.
due when it's due. Right? It's still due.
Mhm.
But if I come to my team with some opportunities for them to explore the situation
Yes.
where they are like researching and providing feedback and we're in dialogue and we're defining the problem together.
Mhm.
And then my team can say, "Oh man, we need to fix this."
Mhm.
Right? I'm not telling them to fix it. I created the conditions in which they felt inspired to fix it.
Mm.
Now we're a team, we're working on it, and I say, "Okay, well, I can do this and this, and Melanie, your strengths are here. Could you do this?" And then you say yes, and we're building and collaborating together, which
Mhm.
allows the same air quotes work
Mhm.
to get done, but we've done it in a way that creates like inspiration for work versus I
Oh,
have to do the work. And
yes.
so when we say we create the conditions for, I in some regard it lets the leader off the hook because whether they do it or not, it's still due.
Mhm.
It's still due and it's due.
Yeah.
But in another way, it really puts heavy emphasis on the leader
Yes.
because you have to have the skills to show up and create the conditions.
Yeah.
You can't say, I want to create the conditions for people to love their work and then do it like you used to do it,
Yeah.
because they didn't love their work before.
Hmm.
You have to change. The leader has to grow. But that's something I can control,
Yeah.
because I can control how I upskill. I can control how I use different language. I can control my communication techniques
Mhm.
to try to get that condition. So it's a letting us off the hook in some regard, and also putting responsibility on us as leaders
Yes.
for the creation of the conditions, not just for the result of the it's due when it's due.
Yeah. And that works in regardless of who you're leading, whether it's leading your home and
Yes.
you're having your kids involved or your partner involved or your siblings or community, that approach works in any environment,
Yes.
you know. Um, yeah, I love that. I have so much appreciation for that. So
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that example because that
Yes.
helps to make it tangible.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, easy for people to kind of like sit in.
Hmm.
And what I'm also hearing you say, um, where it lets them off the hook, but it doesn't let them off the hook. The other piece to that is letting go of some things.
Yes.
The old way, it still requires that internal reflection time, that doing that
Hmm.
inner work in order to even be in the mindset
Yes.
to approach it differently.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's why they get
Uh,
to call you.
yeah. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
They get to call you and help them with that. And so
Hmm.
this has been really wonderful. And thank you. I have, of course, we could just go on and on about this because I have so much curiosity around that.
Hmm.
Um, and so how can, like, what are some things that, like, I believe that joy and gratitude are partners. And so
Yes.
what are some things that you are grateful or really appreciating right now?
Mm. Well, I'm super. This you're going to say, "Oh, it's cheesy," but I'm so grateful for this conversation, because
Yes.
I feel like, Melanie, you show up in my life at these just these little like benchmark places, like these touch points, right? And then you bring me back to reflection. So I'm super grateful for those moments where you just come in and intervene and cause me to pause and reflect.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, truly am. I think because I'm living in a different mental place
Yeah.
than I was before, I just am finding joy and gratitude in so many small things
Yeah.
that I just missed before. From things at work, when I hear or see a leader speak with um, thoughtful intentionality about why they're doing what they're doing. I just like
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
hear it and it's good.
Yeah.
To walking outside, and sadly I'm starting to hear the fall bugs, right? The later summer
Yeah.
but hearing nature and just pausing and saying, I'm hearing it. I recognize that this is what's happened. There's a whole ecosystem of stuff happening around me, and I just get to observe and have joy in that. So
Mhm.
I was going to use the word working, but that's it's not the right word. But I'm working. I don't have a better word, to just love the life that I have. Yeah, love every moment of the life that I have, and that means being present to the good,
Mhm.
being present to the challenging,
Mhm.
um, I just want to be present for all of it. I don't want to miss any more of it.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next question, and you've already spoken to it in some ways, but just in case there's even more there, what are some practical ways that you choose or access your joy?
Well, I told you before when I was telling the story about getting sick in the wintertime, right?
Yes.
So I intentionally schedule some times away in the winter. I've got to go track down some sunshine. If it if it won't come to me, I gotta go find it. Um, I intentionally create moments of quiet
Mm,
uh, in my own life. Even if it's just sitting in a chair outside for 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes, the phone will not be by me,
mhm.
right? I'm not going to plan for the next meeting. I'm just going to sit in that 10 minutes and notice. I'm
Yeah.
going to notice the sunshine. I'm going to notice the feel of the wind on my skin.
Mm,
Just really, really be there. Um, and I think, maybe another joy that I'm having is just noticing where other people are
yeah.
in their journey
Mhm.
and not feeling like I have to do anything to course correct for them.
That is huge.
That acceptance
Mhm.
that I trust them with their own journey. I trust God with their journey. And I'm just gonna be present for whatever they need from me is bringing me peace and joy.
Yeah. Hmm. That's so yummy. So yummy. Like even like all of what you just said, I can
Mhm.
can vibe with like in so
Yes,
many different ways.
yes.
Um, yeah. Like there's freedom in that last part that you just mentioned in terms
Oh my
of noticing
gosh.
someone. There's so much freedom there. Because again, it removes that sense of responsibility for managing
Yes.
managing what's happening in that
Mhm.
season of someone else's life and just being where
Yes.
you are right now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, that's just full circle, right? That
Mhm,
I release them for their journey and I will create the conditions in which I'm safe
mhm,
for them should they need me.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a part of you creating the conditions where you're safe for them. I have my own thoughts, but what's one of those conditions for you to be safe?
I think people just have to know that however they show up
Mhm,
now, and this is not like me endorsing being a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. But however you show up, whatever challenge you're going through, I can handle it.
mhm.
Right? You're not going to knock me off my
Yeah,
center.
yeah,
And we may have conditions about or conversation about boundaries or good behavior or whatever, but
yeah,
like in your challenge there's nothing that you can say
yeah.
that's going to like shock me.
Mhm,
I can handle it. I'm here for the whole thing, right?
mhm, mm. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Mm. This was so delicious. I always enjoy our chats. How
me
can
too. Me too.
others stay connected to you or follow your journey or
Yeah, the best way to find me is on weinspirewe.com, and you can find me as part of the team members on We Inspire We.
beautiful? And I'll make sure I put the show note. I'm gonna link your article, the blog
Mhm.
about pro-
Toxic
toxic
productivity.
productivity. We're gonna link the show notes and the link to the We Inspire We page that links to you in the show notes. Um, thank you so much for coming and hanging out and playing with me in the She Chose Joy studio today.
Yeah,
It is
absolutely.
always a pleasure.
So good.
Always
My honor to be here. Thank you.
yes. And for the listeners, wasn't it good? I look forward to let me know what your takeaways were. And so we thank you for tuning in. And just remember that your freedom lies in your decision to say yes to who you are, yes to what you want, and yes to what you stand for. So, will you stand for creating conditions in which those around you are willing to play and be inspired, take inspired action, creating conditions in which they are willing to collaborate, be resourceful, um, and create conditions in which every voice has a space at the table. So thank you again for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share, and I'll see you on the next episode. Be well.